Homelander's gonna have feelings about how powerful she really is.
Do not worry about him. We are gonna get everything we want.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This will be my full Boys Gen V Season 2 Episode 5 video. There were a whole bunch of Easter eggs and WTF moments, so we'll break it all down. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the episodes. Now that we're past the halfway point in the season, they finally started revealing more about the Cipher character and Thomas Godolkin, and it just keeps getting crazier and crazier, as you would expect from the Boys series. You can all let me know in the comments if you think the recent Peacemaker episodes with them on the Nazi planet are more messed up, more WTF, or what happened in this episode with Cipher, his father Thomas Godolkin, Sage, and everything just in general with that storyline. There is so much to unpack there, but the episode title was The Kids Are Not Alright, a reference to the widespread and documented decline in real life of the mental health and well-being of children just in general. Also the title of an Offspring song, The Kids Aren't Alright, and in the context of the episode, it's a reference to the kids being trapped at the prison. Again, the Scooby Gang is trapped at the prison, in Sam's history of schizophrenia that he then talks about with his mother, his mental issues. When you watch the episode inside the Prime Video app, the actual official description has a bunch of facility codes for the prison, like basically codes of behavior. Use of powers strictly prohibited, hands must be visible at all times, any personal item deemed an enhancement to your power set will be confiscated, restraint technologies active in all areas, all detainees subject to a body cavity search at any time. Basically what you see when they process you at the prison. But the actual episode starts with a flashback to 1 month ago before school started, showing some of Cipher's backstory. He's gardening, listening to Mozart. They try to make it seem pretty chill, but then once you learn the truth of what's actually going on, they just confirm a bunch of theories. It's way, way more messed up. What we're seeing is basically his daily routine. So everything that he does here with his father taking care of him like a nurse would take care of a burn victim is something that he does every single day, probably several times a day. They reveal his father is conscious, but basically in constant pain and body is unable to function, like he can't verbalize anything. We don't hear him call out or scream or anything like that. Maybe he can't actually verbalize something. But if you've ever had a relative or known someone similar who's been in a similar condition, had similar injuries like this, it's meant to feel very real, like people get treated like this by nurses when they're in conditions like this. If it wasn't clear, though, this is still meant to be Thomas Godolkin that we saw in the flashbacks to the 1960s that got all these injuries in that fire in the lab. Cipher, or Mr. Gold, revealed that he is the son of Thomas Godolkin, and I believe that's true. I don't think that it's meant to be some kind of misdirect or anything. Then boom, we get our next big cameo. It's Sage. Remember, this is after the events of the Boys Season 4 finale, so she's in Phase 2 of her master plan, and things get really freaky, really messed up, real fast. But I think there are a couple important confirmations that they give us with some of the teasers and the messed up moments here, like some of the WTF. She makes fun of him for having bad taste in music, which he claims was Einstein's favorite. This will actually be important for later, so remember that he's thinking about Einstein. Einstein passed away in the 1950s. Sage then calls Einstein out as a racist. This is an actual reference to racist writings that people found in real life in Einstein's travel diaries after he passed away. Sage then clarifies that just because he fought for black people, he was still racist against Chinese people, an example of how someone can do good things and bad things at the same time, which is meant to be a metaphor for Cipher's character and for Thomas Godolkin himself. Part of the idea I think they're trying to show is that Thomas Godolkin, who's the one with the real master plan here, like the finger puppet is Cipher, Thomas Godolkin, his father, is the one inside his brain now.
My life, your life, all our lives will be better once you have ascended to your full potential.
And at least Thomas Godolkin believes that what he's doing now is right in this superhero supremacy that he wants to lead, thinking that he's doing it for good reason, but he's actually hardcore racist against humans, not superheroes. All the rhetoric that we heard Cipher talking about in the first episode. But here's the thing with Einstein. In the context of the Boys universe, I think they're playing it as if Einstein was connected to Vought in their research before he passed away in the 1950s. The other reason I think that they're talking about Einstein's history so much is because Thomas Godolkin, who was injured during the 1960s, grew up through the 1930s, 40s, 50s, admiring Einstein, wanting to be like him. So it's actually Thomas Godolkin, the burnt person here, the charcoal briquette, Anakin Skywalker, Mustafar style, who's actually the Einstein fan, not his son, Mr. Gold. And one of the other reasons why they're talking about Einstein here so much is because of the Jensen Ackles Soldier Boy spin-off series that they're making right now in real life. It's called Vought Rising. He, Stormfront, a couple other superheroes were just announced. They've been filming it for a little while. Einstein might be referenced or show up on that series in some way, like as a character, because it takes place in the 1950s when Einstein was still alive. Sage then brings him the garden gnome because she knew eventually Kate would have her encounter with the guard and make him screwed, or at least there was a high probability that something like that would happen eventually. She can't see the actual future, that's not the way her powers work. She can actually just see probable outcomes, which is why her plans are always so good. When they have this very, very WTF messed up BDSM moment, they make it seem like Cipher has a fetish here, but really what I think is going on here is that they're doing this in full sight of Thomas Godolkin, Charcoal Briquette here, because he's in Cipher's mind and technically the one that's doing it with Sage, which is also why Sage turns and looks at the Charcoal Briquette, Thomas Godolkin, smiling while she's doing it. We also know Sage is a proven freak, just ask the Deep. She's had ongoing relationships with a number of different people at the same time, so she's very, very promiscuous. She really, really likes to have her good times. But it's pretty clear here in this scene that Sage knows Thomas Godolkin's secret, that he is probably a powerful telepath and using his son's body as a vessel for stuff like freaky stuff like this. Which actually makes everything that happens in this episode and everything in the previous episodes way more twisted, also confirming a lot of theories. I think that Jordan helps confirm this theory about what's happening with Thomas Godolkin being the powerful telepath, because later she says, when you were inside my mind, I sensed you were in constant pain. So it's not Cipher, like Mr. Gold here, that's in constant pain. It's actually Thomas Godolkin, Charcoal Briquette, who's in constant pain because of his burns. So this episode was actually pretty huge in confirming some big theories about who's behind what, like where the plans are being orchestrated, what his true goal actually is with Marie. Back in present day, after the events of the fight, Marie is now number 1 in the rankings. There's comments about banning trans athletes from sport because of Jordan. That's an issue in college and professional sports right now. There's a little more dialogue from Jordan confirming more about the theories of mind control, like, he was inside my body controlling me. I was like a passenger. I couldn't do anything, but I could feel all the pain still. So I think the idea that during the fight, Thomas Godolkin effectively, for that moment, had total control over Jordan and all her abilities, and it sounds like he's grooming Marie to take over her body eventually too, when she reaches her full potential. We will talk about that in a second too, like what is the actual goal? Does he want her to bloodbend all humans on the planet simultaneously, one shot the entire planet? There's also a couple moments later in the episode too with the whole Magneto X-Men First Class scene of stabbing himself in the hand that I think actually clarifies how all this Thomas Godolkin mind control body hopping actually works. Cipher then threatens to send them all to Elmira prison with Kate if Marie doesn't do what he says and train her potential with him, which they eventually do wind up at Elmira. This is also the beginning of a couple weird moments in the episode where you see him directly taunt Jordan, I think also to try and bait them so that they'll also reach their potential as well. It seems like pretty much everything he's doing is pushing them around like chess pieces, trying to manipulate them, get them to reach their potential. Not just Marie, but all the different kids. So basically the entire episode is him just pushing their buttons, trying to send them off the rails so that they'll reach their potential. We actually see them process Kate at Elmira prison. They reveal her prosthetic arm. People were asking about this at the beginning of season 2, like what happened to her other arm? They just didn't show up because she had it under a glove the whole time. But she is still down an arm after the events of season 1. Because her powers are still on the fritz, she does get one of the guards to tase themselves in the balls and gets the other one when she grabs him. And we find out they're using special power dampening collars that shock them if they try to use their powers. She passes a couple brand new characters in cells. We don't know what their powers are, but I'm assuming the one in blue has cold-based powers like Iceman. Maybe there'll be a bigger prison break by the end of the season. That's why they're showing you all these brand new kids with powers. During the Sam storyline, he goes back to his family home for the first time since Vought locked him up when he was younger and went to Sage Grove. We actually learned that Vought lied to his parents about what they did and that he actually died, so they saw him on the news during the events of season 1, and once they did try to reach out to him and try to see him again, Vought lied again, saying no, he doesn't want to see you. So basically Vought has been trying to keep him away from his parents this whole time. Most of his storyline in this week was meant to show him slowly learning about his backstory and his history of schizophrenia in his family and how he had problems before he got the Compound V, not the Compound V giving him problems. So that's basically a big part of his arc this season, is coming to peace with some of his mental issues and starting to deal with them, but not completely fixing them. Like, he's not going to fix all of his problems in a single season. Back at school, Emma references Transformers in an old tradition she learned from her cousin when they would drink together to deal with hard times, just get super wasted, super blasted. Then Marie, still remorseful about Chase's death after she bailed on them at Elmira before, wants to go save Kate, setting up the rest of the episode. Now, eventually what we do find, because Emma says this is clearly a trap, like she goes full Admiral Ackbar, it is a trap, we should not go. She winds up being 100% correct, it was a trap, but it was actually Sage's trap and Sage's plan, which makes sense. It's all part of her master plan, Phase 2, that she was telling Homelander about at the end of The Boys Season 4. There are a couple of flashbacks to show how Marie escaped prison the first time and what happened between the events of Season 1 and Season 2. Emma then calls Sam to try and get his help breaking back in, which he actually declines because he hates Kate. Part of the idea is they want to sympathize Kate this season, so she's been slowly making her peace with each of the members of the Scooby Gang. Emma winds up being one of the last ones, like she kind of makes her peace when she saves her. When Emma actually calls Sam, though, there are a couple Easter eggs on the posters in her room. Big Crazy Love 2 was probably a movie that she starred in using her giant man powers, because all the movies that they reference are typically like Vought spin-off or parody movies of movies in real life. She's also got a Queen Maeve movie poster. There have been a lot of Queen Maeve references the past couple seasons on The Boys main show and on Gen V. Even though it seems like the actress left The Boys TV show, maybe she'll be back for the final season. There were all kinds of rumors about stuff going on in real life. I don't know if those are true, so I won't talk about them here, but maybe Queen Maeve will eventually come back. My assumption with Sam and Kate, though, is that he will eventually realize that he's in the wrong and shouldn't be mad at her anymore, and eventually they will make nice. Like, the Scooby Gang itself, like the larger Scooby Gang, will slowly reunite by the end of the season.
You were right about her, Emma. She's a bad person.
When he's actually meeting with his parents, there are a couple Easter eggs going on in some of the backgrounds of these scenes. His mother is watching the Avenue V TV show again, playing with the Deep puppet, while Sam tells them about the Deep coming to their frat initiation recently in the episodes. Wall is also eating the Deep-themed breakfast cereal because remember, Vought makes all these different types of products. Then winds up having a spectacular crash-out episode, hurting his father, and then eventually later his mother comes and finds him and explains their family history of schizophrenia and what really happened to one of his relatives. Like, oh, you have what he had, and we gave you the Compound V, or we got you the injections to help protect you from what might come of that problem. Rule number 1 should be, though, you don't give people who have pre-existing mental conditions or really bad problems superpowers. That is almost the definition of a supervillain origin story. If you really think about it, though, Homelander kind of got a reverse version of that, though. He was actually totally fine when he got the Compound V. It was the way he was raised, like it was the nurture, not the nature, that actually made him go crazy. There's a little bit of exposition and some backstory Easter eggs that they lay in here when the Scooby Gang is trying to go to the prison to actually save Kate. So Marie points out that she can't drive because she never bothered to get her license when she was at Red River. Also, Vought probably didn't want her to get her license. Marie then starts to go a little darker when she seems like she actually enjoyed the fight at the arena and said she could feel her power growing. Like, that doesn't sound healthy. Emma's new kind of boyfriend, Greg, shows up to set up the polarity assist that they'll eventually need when things go very wrong at the prison. Polarity then having the lunch meeting with Cipher with a whole bunch of WTF moments and Easter eggs here. So I think the reason we can say now that he's only been consuming liquid or soft meals, Cipher has, is because it's actually his father inside his mind, Thomas Godolkin, controlling his body so much, and his father is the one who liked or got used to all the soft meals because he can only actually consume them in his burnt charcoal briquette body that way. Maybe Cipher himself, like Mr. Gold, his son, just got used to eating things that way and it became a habit. But I personally think that it's Thomas Godolkin in his mind just liking the soft food, so he just continues to eat it that way inside his son's body. But I do think his son is capable of eating regular solid foods if he wanted to. Cipher then does the same thing he just did with Kate, pretty much everybody else he's had a meeting with on the show so far. He reveals he knows everything Polarity has been doing, trying to learn his secrets, probably because Thomas Godolkin, his father, can read his thoughts in the minds of others involved, so he's already read the mind of the Remember. He knows about pretty much everything that's happened. One of the easiest ways to stay one step ahead of every other character is if you could read their minds and know what they're doing. He flat out reveals all the secrets the Polarity was trying to learn and seems like he could care less. Like he's not worried about Polarity doing anything at all because of what happens next. But he says he's been studying superheroes for years, makes it sound like a very long time, which is also why I think they're confirming that it's Thomas Godolkin in his mind, and it's been since the 60s, the 50s. Watching, studying superheroes, trying to find a way to make them reach their true potential, make more powerful superheroes in general, so maybe that's what that special lab was for, Project Odessa, when things went very, very wrong. Maybe that's what we were actually seeing happen to those different people. Maybe he was trying to make their powers more powerful. Gives off a lot of Magneto Brotherhood of Mutants vibes here. Magneto's whole thing was mutant supremacy, but he also wanted mutants to reach their full potential. He also says Marie is going to change the world, probably with a little help from Thomas Godolkin too, but he says things like this a couple different times in the episode. When he says he'll have to tune in next week to find out, yes, that is a phrase from television in real life, but also it's the writers joking behind the camera to keep watching the show this season to see what happens. Like, please keep watching our show so you can actually see the next season, and it will justify us doing another third season.
We'll just have to tune in next week to find out, won't we?
I do not know if they plan on doing a season 3, but I think Amazon would like to keep continuing the show as long as it's successful enough, but they don't release numbers or anything like that. Cipher then reveals how Polarity's son Andre actually died because he was trying to bring out his full potential in the test he gave him, trying to open that giant door, which we see later in the episode all crumpled, was too much because of the micro tears in Andre's brain, which caused him to die. Polarity then goes full Magneto from X-Men First Class, that's basically what this move is meant to be a reference to, using the knife to try and kill him with his powers, only Cipher stabs himself with it, and I think this is more confirmation that it's his father Thomas Godolkin controlling his body, but Cipher, himself like Mr. Gold, his son, can still feel the actual pain because of what Jordan said earlier in the episode. When Thomas Godolkin is controlling someone's body, like Jordan for instance, he does not feel pain because his body is elsewhere, but the person he's controlling, they feel the pain, but they can't verbalize it or show it. So while he's in his son's body and stabs himself, his son, Mr. Gold, can feel the stabbing pain, like it really hurts, but he doesn't show it because Thomas Godolkin is controlling the body. Jordan told Marie during the fight she could feel the pain, but Thomas Godolkin could not feel the pain. When he actually says he has a Zoom call with Dana White is the head of UFC, so it sounds like Cipher plans on having more superhero fights like the one we just saw, like UFC wants to get superheroes fighting in a special match. Sam goes back to his old room in his parents' house, spots a reference to his brother Luke, who was played by Patrick Schwarzenegger during Season 1. He had a Queen Maeve doll, revealing he used to do all kinds of crazy sex stuff with it when he got old enough. I already explained all the messed up backstory about Vought lying to them, saying that Sam had died, and then learning the truth, and Vought still lying to them about that. My assumption is that Vought just wants to control Sam because he's so powerful, so they just wanted to keep him on ice for as long as possible, just use him as basically a pincushion to test on. Then we actually see the Scooby Gang trying to break into Elmira, and as Emma predicted, it is Sage's trap. They all get gassed and wake up in cells, and it actually turns into this weird messed up Saw plan where Cipher tries to push Marie to reach her potential, but he's also kind of doing that with all the other characters too. It's all meant to be a really grand test. All of them are being tested, not just Marie. Emma makes a Barbie reference to Kate's messed up hair because so many little girls cut the hair on their Barbies in weird ways. When Sage comes back to Cipher's prison office, we get a big info dump, whole bunch of exposition here, and I think stuff that's influencing The Boys Season 5 on the main show. He references her as Madame Vought CEO, which is something that happened recently as of the end of Season 4. She's the new CEO of the company. She references Ashley, who had just taken the Compound V the last time we saw her in the Season 4 finale, losing the rest of her hair. She makes it sound like her condition got worse. Whatever her powers are going to be, they will probably be very, very messed up. Everybody let me know in the comments, what do you think Ashley's powers will actually be? Then they both talk about the master plan that Sage has, like her phase 2 of her plan, and it sounds like they actually concocted this plan together. Sage says he doesn't need to worry about Homelander coming after Marie when she reaches her full potential, and when she says the two of them will get everything they want. Not totally clear exactly what that means, but it sounds like there's a big component of it that's very sexual. Super, super freaky, the way you would expect from Sage. There are a couple moments later in the episode with what happens with Annabeth, Marie's sister, that I think confirm what the part of the master plan is in pushing Marie to her potential, the reason why he wants Marie at her full potential.
If I succeed with Marie, Homelander's gonna have feelings about how powerful she really is.
They briefly jump back to the Polarity storyline to show him trying to contact the Scooby Gang. You look at his phone, he's got a whole bunch of people on his phone there. He's got Homelander's phone number. Pretty much everybody from the Seven, like Sage's number, is on there too. There's also a bunch of names of people who are actually on the production crew in real life. They just make the show. Also kind of seems like he's got Michelle Rodriguez's phone number here, like they did a movie together. When he sees Andre's picture and his powers go on the fritz, I think they're just teasing that this will continue to keep happening through the rest of the season, like he'll try to use his powers and won't be able to do it the right way just because he's so messed up. Most of the rest of the episode, though, is the Scooby Gang trying to escape and seeing Marie bloodbend her sister. Kate pulls one of the staples out of her skull to use it as a tool to pick her lock, pushing her on the redemption arc like she winds up escaping, tricking the guard, also with the joke about her trying to take the key but him stabbing himself with the key because her powers are still on the fritz. She saves Emma, kind of bringing them a little bit closer together. Remember, Emma's like one of the holdouts that still really, really hates her. Most of the other members of the group, with the exception of Sam, have slowly come around on her again. Cipher then reveals one of Marie's big weaknesses, dosing her with a giant anticoagulant so she wouldn't be able to clot her blood, meaning that she could theoretically bleed out. So that would be a big weakness for her if she couldn't clot her blood. One of my other assumptions, too, is that he's just trying to push her so that she can actually overcome this weakness, because what happens later makes it sound like she's actually capable of that, too. When he makes fun of her trauma response, hurting herself to access her power, that was a big thing in Season 1. It was basically her living out her trauma on herself and using it as a path to her abilities. He's actually trying to help her so that she doesn't need to do that anymore, technically. As evil as he seems, he actually does want to stop her from hurting herself. Then he actually drops some more clues about what's actually going on. All of his talk here about everyone's lives, mostly talking about superheroes here, being better once she reaches her full potential and ascends. Early theory, he wants her to bloodbend everybody on the planet and kill or subjugate all humans, just leaving superheroes alive. Basically one-shot the whole planet, which would make for a way more efficient means of takeover than what Homelander thinks that he's doing, trying to take over the planet the old-fashioned way. This actually feels like something that Sage would do, like a plan that she would help come up with, like the most efficient way to take over the planet. You do not need a giant army of people, you only just need one really powerful person who could bloodbend all humans on the planet. My other early assumption, too, is that Thomas Godolkin probably wants to jump into her body and use it as his new finger puppet, so technically he would probably be the one trying to one-shot all humans on the planet. Couple more confirmations of our theories. Jordan says she could sense Cipher was always in pain when he jumped into her body. I think she, without realizing it, is talking about Thomas Godolkin being the one who is in constant pain because of the trauma to his body from the fire. But she doesn't know that it's really Thomas Godolkin inside Cipher's body right now. She thinks that this is all just Cipher himself doing all this. Notice he doesn't have anything snarky to say back to her when she mentions that, because he wasn't expecting someone to clock it. Then he takes Marie to the place where Andre died, trying to open that large metal door, the test that he gave him, which you can see is partially crumpled. He reveals he also captured her sister Annabeth to try and force Marie to use her powers by killing her, so she would bloodbend the blood back into her body and cause her body to heal itself. This is actually a super, super powerful move. She can basically force people's bodies to heal themselves, heal the damage. This is actually where we talk about power scaling, like how you use your powers, who is the most powerful person on the planet. Technically, Homelander is still the most powerful person on the planet if you're just talking about raw strength, speed, agility, resilience.
Powerful she really is.
Do not worry about him.
When Marie starts to access her true powers here, that does make her crazy OP, but she's not completely invincible. The real question is like, how far gone could she be and still use her powers? I think she would need most of her brain still intact. So part of the idea is that her blood bending is now also working kind of like Wolverine's or Deadpool's healing factor. But instead of being an automatic kind of thing, in the case of Wolverine or Deadpool or other people with healing factors, she has to actively force a person's body to heal itself, like influence the actual cells themselves, so it's more of an active ability. It is both a super messed up and super cool way to reveal some of the true potential that she has. This is probably just the beginning too. Like, this is probably the only thing that she's going to be able to do. Remember, this is just a single person and it's just her sister. I think the idea is that Thomas Godolkin wants her to be able to finger puppet, bloodbend the entire planet, like all humans on the planet. But everyone post all your reactions in the comments below. Let me know what you think is actually going on. What is Thomas Godolkin and Cipher's true plan? What do they want Marie to actually do with her powers that they're not worried about Homelander? And what is it that Sage and Thomas Godolkin believe that they're going to get when their plan is successful? Like, the two of them feel like they're going to get something that Homelander knows nothing about. All this is also making it seem like Homelander is just their chess piece that they're also using as a tool to bring this plan to fruition. What'll happen is my full episode 6 video will post next week after they release it, and my Peacemaker episode 7 video will post later this week as well too. We will see what winds up being more messed up, like the whole Nazi planet thing that's going on Peacemaker, or all this stuff on Gen V. The really big thing that's happening next week is going to be New York Comic Con. It's probably going to be a trailer fest between Marvel, DC, a bunch of other stuff like Invincible Season 5 stuff. So whatever they wind up releasing, of course I will do videos for it in addition to all the new episode videos. Everybody click here for that new Peacemaker episode. I'll update the link as soon as I post it, and click here for all my Gen V and Boys episodes. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.